one last thing here. Okay, we were recording, so we were ready to rock. So, Robert, man, I just want to tell you, first of all, thank you so much. The weather looks beautiful where you're at. It's not nearly as nice here, but I know that you're giving us warm thoughts where you're at right now. So appreciate you being on.
I just want you to know I took off my parka and snow boots just for you.
Well, we're putting them on, so I appreciate that for sure. Well, thanks so much. I know you're a busy man, and I know you've got a lot going on. I got to tell you, having listened to some of your podcasts, having read a little bit of your book, I'm just so excited to be talking with you today about not only the things that have happened in your life, but how you continue to pursue them. The last podcast I just recently listened to was with Tom Brady and his organization, Keep Going. And one of the things that you were talking about there is just that mental toughness, the mental toughness that you constantly are putting yourself through. You've done that throughout your life, but how you've recognized that so many people need to be prepared to do that in their life in order to achieve even better things and greater things and just deal even sometimes with their past. I'd love to have you just dive into that about this mental toughness and being able to embrace the pain and stop avoiding it.
Pressure reveals character. And so you don't really know anybody until financial, relational, social, spiritual. You just don't know until pressure comes on somebody. I tell young couples, you really don't know the person until you've seen them under severe pressure, because that's where they morph and they change. It's like, that's not the person I want to marry, but that's the person that comes out during pressure. And so all of us have to deal with pressure all of our lives. Every decade brings new levels of pressure. And either you deal with it and learn to cope with it, or it overwhelms you at times because it's so overwhelming. And so, for me, I didn't handle pressure well in my teens. Mm-hmm. And it wasn't till I got into the military where they demanded that you learn to handle pressure severely and maturely, mm-hmm. Taking emotionally immature men and investing millions of dollars in them. And they tell you, you cannot be emotionally immature men in the places and the predicaments that we're going to put you in, because you need to become solid men under pressure that can make good decisions for yourself as well as for your team or the people that you're rescuing. So you need to grow up real quick and stop acting like a punk and a kid and an immature little boy and get your act together. And for us, that was quite the challenge. And again, then they put you in, and again, for the listener, I was what is called Air Force Pararescue. And at the time, that was the Navy SEAL side of the Air Force. And it's our job to rescue the Navy SEALs, the Rangers, the Marines when they get shot and hurt. Mm-hmm. And so the pressure of being a combat paramedic that jumps out of a plane with your guns and your knives and your IVs and your needles, and you get in and you're the guy they count on. They put their life in your hands, that if a PJ, pararescue guy, is coming, then you're going to you're going to be safe. And that put a lot of pressure on 19, 20, 21-year-olds to get their act together and to deal with pressure. And sometimes I did well, and sometimes I didn't do well. Sorry if you hear a jet. That's the jet from Orange County Airport flying just about right now over the ocean. For those of you that would like to be over the ocean, it's a nice beach day here in Southern Cal, Orange County. Yeah. Anyway, I remember I had a guy in a body bag, and I got a guy, and I got him on the helicopter, and I put him on a gurney, and it was a broken back with a bunch of stuff. And I remember I rode, we put the guy in the gurney, got into the ambulance. I got in the ambulance. I went to the hospital. I got in the ER room. I handed my IV bag and everything off to the nurse in ER, and the docs are all squirreling around. And I remember that I said, "All good?" And they went, "Good." And I went, "Golden," and then I walked out of the room, walked down the hall, and I just passed out. I just fell over, boom. And I guess I didn't handle the pressure real well, or I handled it, but it finally came up and bit me. And so life has pressures. And for the guys that are listening, or the ladies that are listening, how you learn to handle pressure. Unfortunately, there are techniques today that we train our Navy SEAL candidates or Air Force Special Warfare candidates. There's ways to handle pressure, where in the old days, you just sucked it up and toughed it out and hope for the best. So my life has been an evolution of going from a punk, irresponsible kid getting a master's degree, as I've said in all these podcasts, in irresponsibility, to some sergeant saying, hey, Owens, get your act together. If we're going to keep you here, you need to grow up real quick. And I just, big-eyed, okay. And then, 2 years of training later, you come out a completely different creature and you learn to handle pressure. And my life has been a series of the 20s, the 30s, the 40s, getting married, having 5 kids, broken arms, broken collarbones, broken legs, car wrecks, kids in jail. It's just pressure. Oh no, what about this one? What are you going to do now? Yeah. I remember my youngest daughter was doing gymnastics, and she was doing backflips in that big pit with all the foam balls. So all the parents just sit there, loving on their little kid, just looking at them and clapping and all this stuff. And my daughter does this back spring, and she goes back. She missed the pit by a little bit, and her arm hit the side of the wall, and it broke her wrist off in half. So she lifts her arm up, and the arm goes like this, and then it just is dangling. And she just looks at me, and she holds up her, broken arm with this wrist, and I go, no problem. Just stand right there. And all the parents are going,
yeah, right.
Hey, all good. Look at me. We got this, Yeah. And you go out there, you grab that thing, and she's turning blue, white, with all the people are screaming, so she gets scared. And then you get that thing, and all the parents go, why didn't you freak? And I go, because you don't freak. You can't do that to your kid. You can't help them with more pressure and more fear. You got to be there for them. Yeah. Anyway, through your 20s, your 30s, your 40s, your 50s, your 60s, there are different kind of pressures that come. And if you don't deal with them, they'll deal with you.
Yeah.
If you don't deal with your issues, they'll deal with you. And so this thing about learning to have mental toughness, it's not like you want to be some stud. You're just come on, just beat me up and I'm going to figure this thing out. It's not that. It's that you learn that mental resiliency and mental toughness comes from practicing your training of what to do and how to do it. And I appreciate that now I have learned techniques as well to get a hold of panic and flight and anxiety and all those kind of things, where you can learn how to go, nope, I'm not going to let that get in my head. And I'm going to do my 4, we call them the big 4. We do the big 4 techniques, and we just reboot our brains, push out the negative, and then stay in the game. So that's a long-winded thing to your intro, but it takes practice, and everyone can do it. Everyone can learn it, but most people don't want to face the pain of learning.
Yeah, one of the things that you talk about, I think at the very beginning of that, is just even the breathing. That seemed to be more the first and foremost important part of it, is just the ability to breathe and control your breathing. You want to just dive into that just a little bit to give people an idea of, this is just something you can implement right away into your life when you do get into those very high pressure situations that maybe you're just not used to.
And this will work. I mean, I had a lady, I was doing a seminar in San Jose. There must have been, 100 people in the room. And I went to the HR person and I said, how many people are on meds? And she said, in that room, there's probably 15 or 16, So I said, okay. And so I went in the room, and they were talking to me and asking me questions. And I said, how many in here are on meds, if you don't mind telling me?
Yeah.
And these people, looked at that and they stuck their hand up. I said, great. I mean, I understand. Most of you panic and anxiety. What's your medication? Blah, blah, blah. And I said, anybody want to work with me on this? So this lady raised her hand and I said, what's your deal? And she goes, I've been taking anxiety medication for about 15 years. I wake up about midnight every night in a panic attack. My husband hates it. And I said, so how about if you work with me tonight? And I teach you some things right here, and you all listen, and you can all write these down, and you can all go practice them in your own way. But let's see if we can have a good moment with her. And so the first thing is breathing. And deep nasal breathing is different than mouth breathing. It's a different level of oxygen, a different quality of oxygen, number one. Number two, deep nasal breathing focuses your mind because it's not natural. Most of us are mouth breathers. Animals pant, right? And they can't control their panting. It's when they're finally done that they finally close their mouth and the tongue goes back in and they're normal, but they can't control it. But we're animals of a different sort. We're called mammals, and we're supposed to be able as humans to control our breathing. So when we go into deep nasal breathing, like and expand everything, when you expand that, it's not natural because you want to breathe through your nose. And when you do that, what happens is you can't focus on two things at the same time. You can only focus on one thing in your brain. There's a ticker tape running across your brain, and it's either full of positive things or negative things or thoughts. And so when you begin to go what we say into deep nasal breathing or even box breathing, and box breathing is you inhale for 4, and then you hold for 4, and then you exhale for 4, you hold for 4. Inhale for 5, 5, 5, 5. And you can do boxes, you can do rectangles, you can do whatever is the challenge for you. But the point is, when you're focusing on that, you can't think anything else in your brain except for that, because it's hard. And so when we have negative dialogue running through our brain, we train our guys, the first thing to do to get control of that mind, that anxiety, that panic, is to go into deep breathing. And when you do the deep breathing, it triggers your brain that you're telling yourself you want to do something other than what you're experiencing or what you're feeling. So it's a trigger. It's a trigger point. You don't do it ever unless you're trying to get mind control. So if a Navy SEAL is coming down on a rope under a helicopter into a firefight, and he lands on the ground, and there's bullets flying everywhere, and his heart jacks up, his heart begins to race, he begins to sweat, and he can't think right because of the anxiety that's coming on him, all of his training goes out the window. All the millions of dollars of hours of training goes out the window because his mind is out of control. So we teach them to get down on the ground, even if the bullets are flying, get to that position, and then take control of your breathing, which will bring your heart rate down. And when you bring your heart rate down, it'll bring your anxiety down. And then you do your breathing, which clears your mind of all the panic of, oh my God, they're shooting at me. And you do that, and then you begin to think the thoughts that you've been trained to think and get back into your game. So in our big 4 of those, you get through that is, first we teach guys to breathe. And we teach guys to breathe all day long. Meaning, when you get up in the morning, you roll out of bed, you put your feet on the ground. This is sort of anal for some of you business people or housewives who's listening. But and we teach a guy to put their hands on their knees. In the dark, don't wake up your spouse. Go like that, and then go. And what you're doing right then is you're telling your brain, I'm not going to think the thoughts that want to come into my head right this time, this moment, because I'm tired, or I don't feel like getting out of bed, or I don't like that alarm clock sounding still, or whatever it is. And you're saying, I'm not going to let that stuff flutter through my head. Whatever wants to come immediately into my morning, I'm going to take control and do my thoughts. And my thoughts are the thoughts that I'm going to say to myself. And so we speak out loud to ourselves, number 2. It's called positive self-talk. And that is, I don't care how I feel, it's going to be a great day. I don't care what I have to do, it's going to be a good day. And we say easy day, fun day, good day, look good, feel good, just like Hollywood. And we have a mantra that we say to remind ourselves, this day is going to have challenges. This day is going to have issues. This day is going to be stuff, whatever it is. But we're taking control of our mind, and our mind's going to think what we want it to think versus what the pressure of the day or the pressure of being tired or not getting everything solved the day before. Here it is coming back on you today, comes back on you. So number 1 is get your breathing to clean out your mind, stop it, reboot your mind. 2, say the positive things, which rewires your brain, your neuroplasticity, meaning that your brain can learn new things, and it can begin to be rewired to go a certain way. So if we rewire our brain with the positive, we can learn that under pressure, we'll come up with the positive thought versus the negative thought. Most people's brains are wired with the negative.
Yep.
Oh my God, it's the alarm clock, not the opportunity clock. Don't get your hopes up.
Yeah.
It hasn't ever worked before. That guy's never going to call me back. All that stuff. So we take control. We speak. It's a great day. It's my day. It's be the best day. And we then wire ourselves that the moment that we begin to nasal breathe, we're telling ourselves we're going to now reboot our mind with positivity. And we do that, and then we begin to, whatever it takes you for your mantra. If you're a spiritual person, you may do spiritual things. If you're a non-spiritual person, you may be just a positive guy and you do positive things. But the point is that every morning you take control so that when you wake out of bed, after 15, 20 days of practicing, the first thing that'll come in your brain will be the positive things, not the negative things, no matter what your day has in store for you.
Mm-hmm.
Does that make sense?
Absolutely, buddy. You've said, I love how you said, and actually I've heard you say this is going to be epic. I can do this. I was meant to be here. And I was always stuck with me since I heard you say that one time. So I think the self-talk, the positive talk is so important. So I really appreciate you talking
when
about
when I ran the 7 marathons in 7 days on 7 continents,
uh-huh.
I carried 3x5 cards in my pocket. And the 3x5 cards had my positive self-thoughts just in case I forgot them.
Wow. Yes.
in case
sleep deprivation, wasn't it?
Well, if it's 20 below zero and you can't move your jaw and it's really hard, if you stop, you'll freeze to death. So you just got to keep running.
Yeah.
Antarctica, I had these things, and one of the ones that was on a 3x5 card was, this moment is not too big for you.
Mm.
This moment is not too big for you.
Oh, I love that.
And so I would then many times say to myself during training, I'm feeling like hell. And I just go, this is stupid. And all that negative stuff's trying to get in my head. And I just would say, this moment's not too big for you. This moment's not too big for you. Breathe, think, get control of your brain. Don't lose it, dude. You've trained for 2 years. You've got this thing. Just take control of your mind. And so first one is breathing. Second one is positive self-talk. Third is we break it into moments. And so how do you eat the elephant one bite at a time? Right. Then you take that thing. I don't know if I can make it to lunch, but I can make it right now.
Yeah.
And so whether it's paying your bills or your kid's sick or you got a disabled kid. I talked to a guy yesterday. He's got an autistic child. We worked through this. How's it working? Because most autistic couples end up in divorce. The pressure is so difficult. Yeah. And so you work on, okay, I'm going to breathe to get control. I'm not going to say what I want to say. I'm not going to say what I don't want to say. I'm going to say what I want to say. I'm going to do the positive self-talk. Thirdly, I'm going to break up the moments. I could do the next 5 minutes or the next 10 minutes, or I can do the next morning or whatever it will be. And then lastly, visualization. Yeah. And then we visualize ourselves winning. We visualize for the business person that someone calling us out of the clear blue, or running into somebody at the restaurant who just have to say, oh, I need somebody to sell my house. You just happen to be here and blah, blah, blah. And we wire ourselves with the positive expectations that everywhere we go, something good is going to happen to us, even in the bad thing. Mm-hmm. And so our kids then at 18, 19 years old have to start doing this when they wake up. Yeah. And then we say, if you need to do it, take 5 minutes at 10 o'clock in the morning, reboot your brain, do it again, and then do it again at lunch, and then do it again before you go to bed. The point being is that some people want to take control of their whole day, not just moments. And the guys in our Unbeatable Mind program, the goal is that we would nasal breathe all day long, which will then tell us all day long, don't lose control, dude. Yeah. Stay in the moment. Don't honk the horn at road rage. Don't respond to your wife or your husband if they are a jerk. You're not going to go there. If your kid does something wrong, just going to, and you just learn all day long, as we would say, take every thought captive. Yeah. And instead of having a monkey mind where all these monkeys are jumping around in a cage, you stop the monkey mind, and then you say, I want to think my thoughts, not the thoughts that are in my brain. Because the thoughts that are in my brain may not be my thoughts. They may have come from a TV show. They may have come from news. They may have come from my next door neighbor. They may have come from my boss. Those thoughts that come and live in our heads, they're ours, but they've come and they've lived in our heads. And many people live their whole life without their thoughts. Mm-hmm. They live their whole life with somebody else's thoughts. You know, my dad told me I'd never be good. I was worthless. And those thoughts live in your head. They plant, they grow a big bush. Well, how long have you been like this? You know, my dad's been dead for 30 years, but he told me when he was alive. You know, well, he's been dead. Why don't you let go? Well, that's what he said. Well, no, let go of that dead man's thoughts and live a life. And they go, I don't know if I could do that. I mean, this is who I've always been. No, that's just who you've always been. It's because you don't have your brain working. You have other people living in your head, stealing your life from you. Mm-hmm. So we then take people and say, all day long, as you progress, you have to think about your thinking. And most people don't think about their thinking. They just think. And whatever happens to think is what they think. And then it's like, how do I feel today? You know, well, we tell our kids, we don't give a rip how you feel. You're going to do your job whether you feel like it or not. That's what you signed up for. You're going to rescue that guy. You're going to do this. You're going to do that. Whether you have a broken leg or whatever issue is, you're going to do your job and you're going to get it done. And if you can work with employees and employers to help people work through stress, that every sales job or every realtor job or management job is about people. And people are sweet and people bum you out. People are good and some people just let you down. If you're always wired about people freaking you out, then you'll be out of control.
Yep.
And you could lose 3 days out of the week just to people doing stupid things, not following up, not doing what they say they're going to do, you know, bad mouth you to somebody else. Okay, stuff's going to happen. And we tell people in life, you had problems, you're having problems now, and guess what? You're going to have problems down the road. So if you become problem-centered, it's going to be a long life. Mm-hmm. So we don't have problems. Mm-hmm. Problems are negative. Mm-hmm. We've banished that word. We have challenges and we have opportunities because challenges and opportunities are positive and problems are negative. So we try to cut all negativity out of our mind, neuroplasticity, rewire your brain that no matter what's going on, you can find the silver lining in it and it'll work out for you. And even if you don't see it, you believe for it.
Yeah. And
then people respond differently. Like, so when I had my heart attack, I came home from 777 and I went to my last Ironman. I've done 12 Ironman stuff over the years. And then I went for my 13th.
Yep.
And for my 13th, I just had a bad day. I was riding into this headwind. You know, we had 3 loops and I had 3 20-mile sections of headwind. We'd make the loop, and here's that headwind again. Whoop, here's that headwind. And I was just cooked. I just like, man, this headwind is knocking the dog out of me. Yeah. Anyway, when I got on the marathon, I got going again, blah, blah, blah. And then I ran out of time. So I went home and said, well, that sucked. I've never not finished an Ironman. Like, I'm a loser. Like, what the hell just happened to me? My 13th Ironman.
Negative talk right there, Robert. That negative talk right there, buddy.
Negative talk. And so it sort of rocked my little ego world. You know, I'm not used to not finishing. Anyway, I come home and I have a heart attack, and the doc says to me, I don't go there, but I'm laying in bed, and I feel this kettlebell sitting on my chest, you know, and I go, well, that's a trip. Wonder what this is. And then I feel my left arm go dead way up inside. I go, hey, you know, that's like having a heart attack. Yeah. I'm laying in bed going, I'll be doggone. I'm having a heart attack. So I wake up my wife and I go, hey, honey, what? Hey, guess what? I'm having a heart attack. What? I said, yeah, I'm having a heart attack. Wow, you go, you know, she has a nursing background. I go, hey, wait, back off. Don't freak out. I don't need you to freak out.
Yeah.
I'm gonna breathe. It's gonna be a great day. It's gonna be a good day.
Yeah. Just right into it.
This could be a fun day.
Yeah.
I mean, this is gonna be an experience. This would be another adventure. She's freaking. I said, just go get on the phone, get away from me. Go on the phone, call the hospital, call the insurance, make sure I'm in network, And while you do that, I'm going to get ready for this heart attack. And she just thought I was nuts. So I go take a shower and I shave, and I'm getting all ready for it. It's a nice day to have a heart attack. I mean, what the hell? You can do that, or you can just go, oh my God, I'm dying. Well, that's not going to help you.
Yep.
So get control of your brain, go to the hospital, and walk in. What's wrong with you? Hey, I'm having a heart attack. No, you're not. You're looking really good. I know, but I'm having a heart attack. Give me a wheelchair. I'm supposed to be sitting down. Anyway, the point is that I didn't want to cave into the emotions and freak like every other person who goes, oh my God, because life was full of oh my gods. And you can either work your brain and train your brain that it's going to work out, or you can be just out of control, which affects all these other people. Mm-hmm. And so that's something that we want our kids, these immature 18 to 30-year-olds, to say, hey, listen, we're going to spend millions of dollars on you, and you can't freak out.
Right.
And if you do, we can't keep you here. We have to get rid of you.
Yeah.
Because people are banking their lives that you are going to be not a normal person. You're going to be a Navy SEAL.
Yeah.
And you love pressure and thrive in pressure. Or you're going to be PJ or Army Ranger or Air Force Combat Control or Marine Recon Raider, whatever the special ops community is. You have to go inside and learn how to be in control. Otherwise, Al Qaeda or ISIS or the Taliban, if they smell on you that you're losing it, they'll come on you even harder.
Yeah. And
you show no weakness. So that's just one of those things.
One of the things that I have really just enjoyed learning about you through the podcast and your book and the Facebooks that you've been posting, the videos, it reminds me, I have a really great friend that is a Ranger. He was active duty for 20 years, and he helps run Kingsman with me. And one thing that I have really noticed that both of you have that I absolutely admire and respect and love is your calmness in chaos. And I know, of course, obviously that's just because of your experience and everything that you've gone through to earn that and to discover that about you. I'm curious, because of your past, and a lot of people know this because of the intro to you. It wasn't that way. You had a very hard childhood. You had some really tragic things happen to you. And of course, what you admitted about alcohol and how you were using that to get away from the emotions of everything. You go into the military. What were the defining moments for you to not break necessarily, but more of like discover this person, this man that you wanted to become? Were there moments that you literally were saying, okay, I am no longer that person anymore because that person no longer serves who I want to be?
I probably ought to back up just a moment from and reiterate what you've heard before. Being adopted and having your best friend come up and say to you in third grade, did you know that you're a mistake?
Yeah.
And I said, I'm not a mistake. The guy goes, yeah, you are.
Mm-hmm.
And I go home and say to my mom, hey, Mom, am I a mistake being adopted from hospital right down here about 20 miles? And she said, no, we chose you. His parents got stuck with him. Go tell him that. Mm-hmm. But that thing, the first memory I have of my life, the first memory that I can is where I remember sitting on the side of a hill, and my mom and dad were having a picnic, and they pulled out the basket and they laid the big blanket on this tall green grass that was blowing with sort of this breeze like here, and it was idyllic thing. There's blue clouds overhead, and it's wispy this, and they sit down, and my sister's there, and she's adopted too, 4 years older than me, and then we have some sort of thing. I'm hungry, feed me. I think maybe 4 years old. And what's funny is when my dad died, I went through a bunch of stuff, and lo and behold, I found a picture of that day, which was a bizarre thing. And I remember sitting on that blanket, and then my mom and dad said, well, we have something we want to talk to you about. I said, great, what's for lunch, And they said, we want you to know that we love you, and we adopted you. I said, what's adopt mean? Well, you were in this place down there with 100 other babies, and we went down and got you. I remember just stopping. Where's my mom and dad? And I remember looking at my mom. I usually looked at my mom. She was more sweet. And Mom, who's my mom and dad? Don't know. But we love you, and we went down and got you. And I remember that like it was yesterday, and I was 4 years old. And the things that wire little kids' brains, trauma.
Yeah.
Every little kid goes through life one way or another. And that thing just got in my brain. I remember thinking, wow, my mom and dad didn't love me. They dumped me. And then when that kid said, don't you know your mistake? And then I had bad legs. So I wore these corrective shoes for years, and I couldn't run with all the kids on the playground, which was really a bummer because they put me over in this thing called tetherball. You hit the ball around the thing. And I played tetherball by myself, and if I was a good kid, I got to work Chuck Taylor, Converse white by choice, high tops. And about fifth grade, they say, every Friday, if you've been good all week long, we'll let you wear these things you can go play. I remember going out and want to play on kickball and stuff, and the teacher would supervise the teams, and everybody would pick teams, and I'd be the last one. They'd say, do we have to take him?
Yeah.
And I said, I don't like this. This sucks.
Yeah.
I mean, like, I don't like this. And so I'd run even harder and fall or something. Anyway, then my mom got lupus. Back then, there was not a cure for lupus. And so she was a PE major out of UCLA and got her master's out of Wellesley in Boston. And I just remember when my mom got sick with lupus, I'd have to ride my bike after school to the hospital and go in the hospital and look through the ICU windows. Back then had all the wire mesh, and you look through the wires, it's your mom laying there. And it was just like one thing after another. And I went from straight A's to straight F's because my mom was dying, and she did die, and then they brought her back to life. She had lupus till she died at 92, 91. Anyway, then I was sexually assaulted twice before 8th grade. Yeah. And that was sort of a trip. And so I just began to drink. And I began to drink like in 9th grade because I didn't have any skills to process any of the stuff that I'd sort of been through. And so I was flunking school and getting in trouble and drinking. And it was not good because my dad was the judge.
Yes.
So you don't want to have your dad be the judge in town. And so there was a police chief's kid, and there was this lawyer kid and me, and the cops could never catch us, but they knew that the three of us were hanging together. and we were saying, bada bing, they'll never get us,
Uh-huh.
But when I got into high school, I was raised in Anaheim, inland, and then my grandparents lived at the beach, and so every weekend we spent time at the ocean. So I was raised surfing and boogie boarding and skimboarding, and then I go back inland where there was less drugs and beatniks. And so this guy says to me, you need to play water polo and swim. And I went, and this coach grabbed me, as you've heard the story, and said, Owens, you don't have much going for you, because we had all these age group swimmers, like, played Little League baseball. And then it's hard to start playing baseball and you're sophomore year in high school, and all these kids have been playing Babe Ruth and Little League and stuff. Well, same as swimming. And so I did that. And the coach said, but I'm going to teach you that hard work beats better talent. And if you'll do what we say, hard work wise. And so I embraced that. And here was my new father figure who just came into my life at the right time and just began to speak into me, which means every kid needs someone to believe in them. Every kid needs someone to speak life into them, no matter how screwed up they are. And he'd say to me, now listen, you got to get your homework done. You got to have at least a C average if you're going to compete. You can't compete on your swim and water polo games unless you have C average. So I'd get a 2.1 just to stay in the game, all my sophomore, junior, senior year. But he taught me that I had talent, and I wasn't dumb, and I wasn't a reject, and there was redeeming qualities in my life. And I listened to every word. Two coaches, Howard Terry and John Urbanchek. And they fathered a whole group of kids. I mean, we never had one father in any of our events because they're all World War II generation out building the world, rebuilding, coming home, and the greatest generation. So all we had was women, the mothers that showed up for 3 years, never saw a man once in any of our games or stuff. Wow. And so these two coaches just stepped in and said, they're going to put their arms around us and say, you kids are going to make it. And when they begin to speak those kind of things into me, that, dude, you're smart, you're just lazy, and all that stuff, it got inside me. And I won't tell that lifeguard story. But then when I lifeguarded the beach, because all of our guys lifeguarded beaches, we're close to the ocean, so it pays money, and you check chicks out all day and you get surfed. So it's a no-brainer. You go and you lifeguard, and we had pararescue reservists. We had what was called the 303rd Reserve Unit in Riverside, and they had a pararescue unit there. And we had guys that were college guys that were lifeguards that were also military reservists. And they kept saying to me, "You need to come in, dude. I mean, like, you could do this." And I said, "I don't have it." I mean, I still was wired for failure, wired with poor self-worth. I just didn't see it. And then they said, if you do what we say, and if you'll go dark. And again, I've been drinking and partying and crashing cars. I've been in jail already, but having a great time. They said, go dark, no chicks, no weed, no drinking, no partying, just focus. And if you'll focus and do the workouts that we tell you, there's more in you than you know, and you can do this. And so, as I've said, I didn't have faith in me, but I had faith in their faith in me.
Yeah.
And then how many people don't have faith that they can do whatever it is, but they have faith in the one mentor or the one person, the power of one, who says, you can do it. You're smarter than they say, or you're capable, or whatever. And I latched onto that. And sure enough, I went in. We had 150 in our class. We graduated 7 of our original class, 16 about with our rollbacks, guys that had broken down some of the previous classes. And there I was with 7 guys, just 6 guys, myself, going, this is nuts. I mean, why are we here? We're the good guys. But they mentally were not scrappy, and they hadn't paid their dues before they came in, and they got crushed by the instructors. Because the pressure, back to the first part, the instructors brought the pressure to see how fragile, mentally fragile, emotionally fragile these super stud athletes who were trying to be pararescuemen were. And one of the big things that we talk about a lot is the definition of fragile, fragility, and frail. And in essence, it is like putting a glass china vase or glasses in a box and shaking it. How easily do they break? Because we know that guys are good physically and mentally. But when we put them under pressure and we shake their world, where they've never, ever felt this kind of pressure before in their life, do they morph and do something stupid, or they just get crushed and quit? And that's the goal of pressure, induced pressure, to see if you're frail mentally, if you're fragile. And what is it that can rock your world where you'll make a mistake? So they induce, whether it's Rangers or SEALs or pararescue, they induce those moments to take you over the edge where you have no clue how to perform, what to do. You've never felt like this before. And then they look you in the eye. And they want to see if they see you cracking. If your emotions begin to go, oh my God, I can't do this. And they'll say to you, we've got to crush you so you can learn that you don't have to be crushed. That you need to make pain your friend. That you need to learn that hitting the wall is not hitting a wall, it's just hitting a moment. And if you can reboot your brain and cut the negativity, do your neuroplasticity from your training, oh yeah, I remember, I've been through this before. So Olympians find a coach who take them over the edge to a place that what used to crush them no longer crushes them. They're now used to it. When they hit that spot, been here before, I can do this, and they smoke. It's bizarre to think that our US marathoner in the London Games, about mile 23, just stopped and sat on the side of the road on a curb. And the cameras are going, what are you doing? You can't just sit down. Right. It's the Olympics. And he broke mentally. He just broke. So it can happen in any way, in a marriage or with your kids or with losing your house or bankruptcies or whatever. How fragile are you, and can you make a comeback, or can you stay in the game and reboot? And you'd say, where'd you get this stuff? Over time, you just learn Do you want to cave or do you want to stay in the game? Because it's a choice. And you have to choose, how do I want to do this? I'm feeling overwhelmed again. I'm over the edge. I don't know what to do. And you have a choice of going with your emotions, of being emotional, or getting a hold of your mind and saying to yourself what you need to say, and say, I can make it. I can do this. I don't know how this is going to work out. I remember, odd story, but during the recession, I lost everything. And my $2.5 million house that was an owner build that I'd spent years building, which was our retirement, they went on the market for $700,000.
Wow.
And we lost everything. And anyway, I was broke. And I remember I was supposed to speak for a guy, and I went and spoke for the guy, and he didn't pay me. And so I got back to LAX, and I didn't have any money. And I remember, what am I going to do? So I took the shuttle over to the Marriott Hotel. I'd stayed at that hotel many times. I went out and rolled my roller bag out to the corner of the 405 freeway at LAX. And I stood there and tried to hitchhike for like 4 hours. And back then, some grown man standing on the side of the road with a roller, is he weird, or what's his deal? It's a recession. And I remember about midnight, I just gave up. I didn't have any way to get home. And I rolled that roller back to the Marriott Hotel, and I knew the bathrooms there pretty good. So I found the big bathroom with the handicap thing, and I rolled my roller in, and I locked the door behind the handicap stall and put my roller up on top of the toilet. And I got on the floor, on that cold floor, and I just hugged that throne. And I laid there and tried to go to sleep, hoping that the janitor would not come in and clean it. And I remember about 5 a.m., I hear this rustle, the door opens up, and I go, oh my God. And I quickly, quietly stand up and pick up my roller and put it on my lap, and I sit on the toilet and go, goosh, like I'm in there, and the guy does some stuff and he leaves. And I went, this would be quite the story if I make this, because I'm hugging a throne at the Marriott, broke, can't get home. And I got 4 million miles on American alone, not Southwest and Delta, 4 million miles, 30 nations, speaking. I've had money, I've had success, I've had prestige and honor, and I am a loser sucking around this toilet thinking, well, this ought to be interesting. As it turned out, I worked away to get the super shuttle guy to take me home, even though I didn't have any money. And then I got to my bank and took out $75, gave it to him, and he dropped me off back at my house. And the point is that there are moments in life when you just go, I'm over the edge. I've never been here before. I don't know what to do. And I don't know who to call. And usually you lose your friends in those moments, because people like you when you're hot. And people usually don't, I don't want to say they don't like you. They don't care a whole lot to get involved in your stuff when you're not hot. Call me when you get it together. And you just have to learn that either this moment's too big for you, or this moment's not too big for you. And if you haven't practiced, you can be assured all these moments will be too big for you. And it takes daily work to have what we tell our young people, you go to a physical gym to work out, but we want you to have a mind gym where you go work in your mind. And we need you to spend a half an hour a day in meditation, getting control of the thoughts that are in your brain, that monkey gym, and begin to rewire your brain with the thoughts that are going to help you be a success. Otherwise, every day you wake up and say, how do I feel? And I hope I feel it today. And if I don't, it's going to be a long day. And you have to just fake it and go through life until you feel it again. You don't want to live by your feelings. You want to live by your convictions. You want to live by your thoughts that you've said, I'm gonna be a good man. I'm gonna work this through. I can handle this, blah, blah, blah. So for all the guys, businessmen and stuff listening, life's hell. Life can be sweet and life can be miserable and it can be hard. And it's a school of life. And you can let it just come on you, or you can go at it. And if you work at every day, the life is going to be hard. and then you go work at it. When it's not so hard, it's pretty fun at the end of the day.
Yes.
Like,
Right.
it didn't rock me today,
Yeah.
you know? But if every day is supposed to be nice, and everybody's supposed to be nice to you, and, you know, everything's going to go great, and then that doesn't happen, oh, it sours your life. You know, like,
Yeah.
I had a tough day today.
Yeah.
Well, life's supposed to be tough. Embrace the suck, deal,
Yeah.
grow up. And every day, if you're a Goggins fan, David Goggins fan, every day embrace something mentally that you don't want to do.
Mm-hmm.
And take yourself on and battle every day, eating or smoking or drinking or unforgiveness or whatever it is. Battle that thing and get a win, and it'll harden your mind.
Yeah.
It'll harden your mind, and because you'll get strong. And once you learn to take your mind on and take yourself on, you stand more upright.
Yeah.
You feel better because you're battling every day when everybody else is just weak. And whatever happens to hit them, you just watch them implode or collapse. And you don't want to be cocky, but you go, I'm going to take it to the fight versus the fight taking me out every once in a while.
Yeah.
Do something every day that you don't want to do. Wrestle with yourself. Deal with yourself. Grow at it. Be miserable. Because life is not supposed to be easy. It's supposed to be hard. That's why everyone wants a victory, but nobody wants a battle.
Exactly.
Everybody wants a testimony, but nobody wants a test.
Yeah.
Everyone wants to be an overcomer, but they don't want to have to overcome anything.
Yeah.
And so you've got to say, I'm going to charge positively into this life and take it on, versus, oh my God, it's coming at me again. It's going to take me out. I'm drowning.
I'm so glad you brought those last three in there, because that, as you were talking about that story, it did remind me when I heard you say this in a previous episode about everybody wanting to become an overcomer. They're just not willing to learn to be an overcomer, right? And then everybody wants that victory, but there very few are willing to do the battle. One thing that I love about what you're doing, and it was kind of this connection for me on why you do all of the races. Why do you do the marathons? Why do you do the triathlons? And you said this, and I'd love to just dive deep into this a little bit more, because this is a more of a connection that I feel I have with you, is the connection of men and that responsibility and the opportunity that you see that when you do these hard things, when you go and do the triathlons and these marathons and these races, you get to meet men where they're at. And by doing that, then you have an opportunity to pour into them. When did you discover that was a purpose for you that you wanted to continue to strive towards in your life? And then not only that, but also fulfill that in your life?
When I became a PJ, pararescue guy, I met some manly men.
Mm-hmm.
Not that I didn't know manly men, but I met guys that I just went, whoa, that guy's intense, or that guy's hot, that guy, how does he do that? I mean, like the other day, I'm doing this thing. I'm coaching at SEAL Fit, and we're training potential Navy SEAL candidates. We have some Air Force guys and some other guys in there, and some ladies there. They all come to test themselves. We have a 6-hour nonstop, a 12-hour, a 24-hour nonstop, and then the big one's the 50-hour. And so they had a new instructor this time. So there's 5 Navy SEAL coaches and me, and we're the paid guys to crush kids. So they bring in a new guy that I've never met before. He flies in. He's this Navy SEAL captain from Washington, D.C. He's been 17 years in, and he doesn't say much. He just walks in. Hi, you guys. How you doing? Good to meet you. You know, he's a friend of Mark Devine, the founder of SEAL Fit. And so he's got instant credibility that Mark flies him in from Washington, D.C. Mm-hmm. And this guy brings all of his own food for 3 days in a big tub, in a big cooler. He's pre-cooked it, pre-cut it, pre-packaged it. And he only does keto, mm-hmm. and with a little bit of a paleo thing. And he's got no body fat. And when he talks, I get scared. Like, there's more than one of those guys in there. You know, they're just really nice guys to talk. And all of a sudden they kick in that gear, and it's like, whoa! I'm so glad they didn't do that to me. Yeah. And anyway, so it's cold that night. The first night, it's like 44 degrees, and we're keeping these guys in these ice baths, and they're shivering. We're getting them hypothermic, and they're keeping them in the mud. We're doing all night PT. And he just disappears. He disappears about 2 a.m. And you see him in his car eating his food. And then he puts on his running gear and he just takes off. And he does a 3-hour workout in the dark, running, push-ups, pull-ups, sit-ups, all by himself in the rain. And then he comes back and eats another meal, puts his clothes back on, gets ready for shift. And we all go, "You didn't go to bed?" "No, I had to get my workout in." "Why?" "That's what you do." And you go, "Okay." And he just severe, but he's focused, and he handles men, he trains men. He's an officer, he's a leader, he's a role model. And when you get around guys like that, then you go back out into bars, at home, or you go, to little league games, you see parents, or whatever, you're just in society. You've been around guys that are excellent and trained. The Bible says, "Train yourselves to be godly." Or Book of Revelation just goes, "To the overcomer, to the overcomer, to the overcomer, to the overcomer," the churches. You see guys that are just head and shoulders uniquely different. And when you come back out in society, you miss being around them because they inspire you.
Yeah.
They challenge you. They call you out.
Yeah.
They call you out. "Hey, dude, let's do another workout." Another workout. "Yeah. Come on, let's do it again. I'm tired." "Well, so what? Suck it up. Let's go." And so you get out and you miss that. And so I've always gravitated to, I want to be around excellent men. I want to be around role model men. I want to be around leader men. I want to be around guys that I go, "I want what you have. How did you do that?" And then you humble yourself and you say, "How did you do that?" Or "How do you do that?" And once I got addicted, once I got in a place where I wanted to be around the kind of guys that I wanted to be like. I don't want to be a jerk and insensitive. I don't want to be a hardcore stud and be pushy. And, I'm not trying to be some a-hole, just look how tough I am. I just want to be the kind of guy that can handle the kind of stuff that these guys handled and did. And that wrecks you for society.
Yeah.
Because you go in a bar and you sit there and oftentimes there's nice guys, but weak or slovenly or inconsiderate or impolite. If you want to meet one of our guys, they're polite. Don't mess with them, but they open doors for people still. And they pull out chairs for people still. And their manhood is not in any way affected by your thoughts at all. And they don't give a rip about what you think because they like the way they think. And they've been trained to be with generals and generals' wives and other wives and be polite and considerate and know politically what to say, what not to say, and how to say nice things to people. They've got the social skills. And that's why they usually get promoted in corporations and stuff later on, because they know how to be with the zeros, the homeless, and they know how to be with the generals that are tens, and they can fit in any section. And that wrecked me. And so I've tried to be around guys or ladies that do outstanding things because they call you up to do outstanding things. And they do it by what they say, or they do it by the way what they don't say. But they just their eminence around you. Like, have you ever been around people that when they walk in the room, the whole room stops talking and the guy walks in?
No doubt about it, brother. Yes.
And do you know that doesn't happen very often?
Right. Yep.
And when it does happen, everyone goes, "He's here." And it isn't often because the title is that. Maybe it's President of the United States. Okay, he's here. But oftentimes it's just the character of who that guy is. And I traveled with a guy for 20 years by the name of Dr. Evan Lewis Cole. And he's the guy that gave a message called, "Are you a promise keeper or a promise breaker?" And out of that came that movement years ago, Promise Keepers.
Oh, yeah.
And he was known as the father of Promise Keepers. And I watched him at the LA Coliseum with 100,000 men crammed in speaking. And he just stood there and looked at everybody like he owned the place. Other guys tried to speak and preach and be funny and have great stories. He just looked, because it was him. 100,000 men was nothing for him to stand there and say, "What the hell's wrong with you guys?" So when you're around those kind of guys that have stature, wisdom, stature, favor, if you that, you just go, where do I get that? And so I spent time trying to put myself in positions to just glean from those kind of guys and just be around them and just watch them. And I started, in my 30s, and then my 40s, then my 50s, my 60s, and I'm getting ready for my 70s, and I'm still looking for those kind of guys to be around. Mm-hmm. And I find them in the military, I find them in sports, I find jewels, and they inspire me. So that's a long-winded question.
I love the fact that you just threw in a Bible verse there with wisdom, statue, and favor, by the way. So it was.
I don't want to do that. This is not a religious conversation.
No, but it was. But that was important,
it's
right?
It's Luke 2:40, Luke 2:52.
Yeah, absolutely, brother. I know. I love it, man.
Well, I say to guys, I say, you're supposed to have wisdom coming on you.
Yeah.
How's it going?
Yeah.
And then I say, you're supposed to have stature coming on you. You got any yet?
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. Do your kids think you're a hero? You got any stature with them?
Yeah.
And then favor. It should be in business that the Rotary or Chamber of Commerce or whatever it is you're doing, the realty group or whatever, that when you walk in, there's favor on your life.
Yeah.
Because people just like you because they like what you are and how you act and what you stand for. And whether you're rich or poor, you're a gentleman. Mm-hmm. And you're polite, and you're kind, and everyone likes to have you around because you're no problem, you're no hassle. And wisdom, stature, and favor with God and man.
Yeah.
Okay, God, I appreciate God, but what about man? The people treat you that way, or they go, "Oh, he's here again." Yeah, or he's cheap. When you have a big meal and then you tip the waitress nothing, and she's a single mom working really hard. Mm-hmm. And she goes, "Oh no, it's that group again. They're going to take up 2 hours and they don't give you any money at all." She'll talk, it's that group, or they just came from church. They never tip.
Yeah.
They give you a tract or some stupid thing.
Yeah.
And so you have stature where people go, "Oh, I'm so glad that he's come or she's come in the room or to the event or whatever." And that's a rare thing. So I have to find places where I'm around guys. I just go, I want to be like that. And I want to be around younger people because I've always believed that you should have somebody 20 years older in your life that talks to you and speaks to you and helps you. And you should have someone 20 years younger in your life where you're giving it away. So you're always learning and you're always giving. And therefore the teacher in the middle always is being stretched and growing.
Yeah. So you just released your book. I'd love to know, first of all, I just released mine a couple months ago, and it took me 2 freaking years to do that. How long did it take you to write this book? Because it's a big book, man. You got a lot of pages in there, a lot of words. It's amazing from what I've read so far. How long did it take you to write this book?
It took me about a year on my iPhone in notes with my thumb sitting in the front seat of my car.
Oh my gosh. You got me, man. You're a much wiser man than I am, brother. That is awesome.
No. If you want to write a book, that's the stupid way to write a book. That's the dumb way. That's the novice way. That's the inexperienced way. Yeah. People say, "Why don't you just get on an iPad, and do this or speak it?" And I'd try to speak it, and the thing wouldn't do it right. So I have to go back and fix it. I'd send it to an English major guy, and I said, "Clean this up, would you please?"
Yes.
And then we went through revision after revision after revision. And he goes, "God, will you just stop? Just publish this stupid thing."
Yeah.
And so it's a big book, but I put a lot of pictures in. For you? What was it was way more fun doing the audiobook.
Yes.
Because I got to read. I'm sitting in this booth, and I'm reading this thing, and I just put the book down and start laughing. I say, "Let me tell you what's not in the book."
That's great.
Then all this other stuff I ad lib, like we really hated that guy, or this really worked or something. You just, I got to get back on the book. You start reading it again, and you go off base. It was really fun.
I love it. I'm definitely going to download the audiobook, man. I'm looking forward to that. Those extra pieces of information are always so valuable. So what was the inspiration in writing the book? What was it that you wanted to express to the audience and the people that already know you, that trust you, that like you, but then obviously those that really just, they don't know you?
It's funny. I traveled for about 10, 15 years with John Maxwell, the author. And he'd always say to me, Robert, where's your book? I don't want to write a book. You write your books. I'll give him your books. And so he said, you have a book inside of you. I said, yeah, I don't have an ego need to write some stupid book. All the books I know sit on some shelf full of dust and no one's ever read them. So why would I want to go through all that work just to have somebody say it's a nice book and put it on a shelf and never read it? So finally, though, when I did those 5 events that got me classified as the fittest, mentally toughest 66-year-old in the world, which again is not true. But when that happened and then the national media and people began to call, they all said, how'd you do that? And I thought, well, you just do it. And they said, no, you just don't do it. People just don't do it. And I go, well, wasn't that hard? I mean, it's hard, but I mean, and they said, well, just tell us about it. And I thought, well, maybe then if there's a book, I'll just tell them about this stuff and why I'm doing this stuff. It was a personal experiment for me to see if I could get strong in my 60s like I was in my 20s. And so I picked these 5 events, 4 of which I was told I was too old and I shouldn't show up. And so I just did an experiment to see how I'm going to fade and how we have to fade and this 20X principle. And so I then just began to tell the stories of this is what happened here and this is what happened here and this is what happened here. Pretty soon it was a book and, you know, people read it go, that's a bizarre book. I mean, that's a trip. And I go, well, you know, I've always been average, never won anything, not a stud, not a star, never been first team. But someone told me I could live a life beyond average. And I felt average and mediocre. And he said, and there's a guy in here, if you guys want to have fun, go online and look up on Facebook, Chuck Patterson. Chuck Patterson is an extreme skier and extreme surfer. He lives down here about 5 miles. He's the kind of guy that made CNN because he was surfing at San Onofre here on his longboard, and this great white came up under his board. And he had his GoPro on his stand-up paddle. So he had the GoPro, so he stuck it underwater. And he filmed this great white going underneath his board.
Oh
well,
my God.
He got really excited because he ran out of battery or whatever it was. So he paddled in to land, changed his battery or something, came back out to the great white and filmed it some more.
Oh my gosh.
I mean, he's the guy, he surfs the biggest waves in the world, but he said, since I'm a snow skier, I'd like to snow ski these waves. So he took a pair of water skis and had them custom made and then put snow ski bindings on them and ski boots. And he put them on and he gets towed into these huge waves and he water skis these biggest waves in the world. That's the only guy in the world that's ever water skied instead of surfing these monsters. And he uses ski poles.
Oh my God.
So he does this thing surfing these waves, you know, and people are going, Patterson. Anyway, he's the guy who said to me, we're on a plane coming back from Hawaii. And he said, hey, Robert, anybody can live average, dude. Anybody can live average, be average. Don't do average. Live your life, man. Go for broke. And I remember just thinking, wow, I just never thought about like anybody just naturally could be average.
Yeah.
And he said, I don't want to be average. I want to have fun. Don't you? I went, yeah, I want to have fun too. He said, well, then go for it. I went, okay. You gave me permission. I'll go for it.
Yeah.
And anyway, I just wrote the book because I want to encourage people that there's 20 times more potential in them at any age than they ever thought. But they need someone to bring it out of them. And you can't do it by yourself because you'll quit. Because it's just difficult to go beyond your mediocrity or your average and really get into the stuff that you can do. Like for me, there's always at least 2 people inside you. There's the person that you're living every day. And you may like the fat stomach or you may not like that. You may like your accomplishments, your house, or, you know, play basketball and you almost can dunk it still. You may like that person. But there's another person inside you that goes, ooh, I wish I could do this. I wish I could do that. And if only this and that. And so, you know, all old athletes watch games on TV and go, I could have done that. Or I was like that once. The wife yawns, you know. But there's this desire that this other person is released. And I wanted to say and find out how much is really in there that I can release that is not full of poor self-worth or mediocrity or average. And these guys kept saying, it's in there, Robert. Just tap in and focus, and this super thing will come out of you. And sure enough, over the years, it's not super. It's just, hey, there's a lot more in me and us. And fortunately, I have people that bring it out of me and remind me, you're not old, dude. Just do your deal. Stay focused, eat right, and you can do what people say can't be done. And I just go, bada bing, this is really fun.
Yeah.
So that's where that all came from.
I love it, buddy. Well, I'll tell you, you've got such a magnetic personality. I am so honored and I so appreciate your time today, brother. And you really are inspiring so many people out there. And I just love the fact that we get to share your message to our people, and hopefully it inspires them to do some beyond average things in their life. I know, I tell you what, I will tell you a personal story. Probably about 4 or 5 years ago, I asked a buddy if he wanted to do a triathlon with me. And he's like, yeah, let's do it. And one way or another, things just got lost, right? You just lose that motivation. I got into some Spartan races, but after watching your videos, after listening to you, of course, after today, the seed has been planted, and I'm letting you know, I'm going to do a triathlon, and it is because of the inspiration that you have set by the way that you live your life and the things that you do to challenge yourself. So thank you for that. It means a lot.
Well, I'm glad you're encouraged. And again, no one has to do what I'm doing, but you got to find out what you have a dream of doing, and then getting a good why and focusing, and then making that happen. And then you can go, man, it happened. I did it. I feel miserable, but it was great.
Exactly. Yes.
Hey, let me just say this too. For all those listening, you need to appreciate the podcast for whatever it is. And I'd like you to go ahead and then email or contact Joshua and say, hey, this is what I got out of that. Because he would like to know what it is you heard. Because I get these things all the time. I don't remember saying it. People say, Robert, you said this, and this is what I did because of what you said. I want you to contact Joshua and say, hey, listen, this is what I got out of this podcast or this interview, and this is how it's affecting me. And it would really encourage him if you would contact him and let him know that.
Mm-hmm. Absolutely, brother. Thank you for that. I most certainly appreciate it. Just out of curiosity, what's the best platform for people to follow you on? How do you want them to connect with you?
Initially, they can go to my website. My website is my name, roberthamiltonowens.com. So I don't know why my mom gave me the word or the middle name Hamilton, but she said I needed some stature as an adopted kid. So she gave me, you're going to be a Hamilton. Anyway, so roberthamiltonowens.com. The audiobook is listed there. The paperback is listed there. There's a couple interviews that people want to watch. You can do that. And I'll just give you this. My email is my name, Robert Owens, and it's OWENSS, 2 S's. I went to get Robert Owens. It was gone. So I stuck an extra S on the end. And then for a while with my kids, I had one Robert Owens with 3 S's. So just sort of made that Owens thing work for me. So it's Robert Owens with 2 S's at Yahoo. And if you want, my phone number is 949. This is pretty bizarre. Most guys don't do this. But I get great phone calls all over the world. 949-542-9600. 949-542-9600. And I got a call from Chile the other day, and one from Austria and Australia. I go, hey, did you listen to that thing? What are you doing, dude? And they tell you a story, and I go, that's bizarre. We have friends,
Oh, love it, buddy. Thank you so much, man. You're giving of your time, you're giving of your energy, and you most certainly gave of your heart today. So thank you so much. Our audience is definitely better from it, and so am I. So appreciate all that you do, my man.
Thanks. Fun to be with you. Fun to meet you. We'll talk again.
Sounds good, my man.
All right, see you.